like to call the meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Chair Conning,
Here.
Vice Chair Milliken,
Here.
Treasurer Davis, Secretary DeVarty,
Here.
Trustee Hatcher,
Here.
Trustee Landau,
Here.
Trustee McKnight-Morton.
Thank you. Before we move any further with the meeting, I think it appropriate to take a moment to acknowledge the passing of Alice Landau, who alongside her late husband Henry were staunch supporters of our college from its very beginnings. Henry was one of the college's founding trustees and also served as a WCC Foundation board member and officer. Starting with nothing more than a will to succeed, Henry and Alice established a successful residential home construction business in Ann Arbor, and it is in their honor we named a building on our campus, the Henry S. Landau Skilled Trades Building. Please join me in a moment of silence for Alice Landau. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. And one more thing, I would like to address Rose's absence. I'd like to take a moment to share the reason that President Blanca cannot be here this evening. She is with her husband, Joe, who is currently hospitalized. On behalf of the board, I would like to ask everyone to keep Rose and Joe and their family in their thoughts. Thank you. Okay, let's start this. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
Moved.
Support? Thank you. All right, let's see. Oh, any discussion? All in favor to approve the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the minutes. Tab A. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the minutes of March 26th monthly meeting as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
Move approval.
Second. Any discussion on last month's minutes? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, moving on to citizen participation, the WCCEA. Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Good evening. I again apologize for breaking out of here early last month. Other obligations caused me to leave after I gave my comment. And I'm sad that I did because my name was mentioned later on that evening by Trustee McKnight-Morton in the context of diversity. And she wondered what it was that I thought about diversity issues on this campus. I want to thank her for asking that question and for the invitation to participate in that discussion. And unfortunately, she's not here tonight. I'm sure she will watch the board meeting on its video or hear from fellow board members. I welcome that invitation. I'm happy to sit down with Trustee McKnight-Morton or with any of you at any time to discuss diversity or any of the other many issues in which the faculty are involved and are concerned about on this campus. I thank her for that invitation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other public comments at this time? Okay. Vanessa, were there any written communications?
Yes, there was
3? Thank you. Okay, moving on to special reports. We're going to hear from VP Hearns tonight about Susan Dentel.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Aye.
All right, so I am here. I'm going to ask Susan Dentel to come on down and come up. We want to present her with a gift. And Susan Dentel, I think, was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. Okay, 2 weeks ago, at the American Association of Community Colleges, she was given the distinguished recognition of the Dale P. Parnell Faculty Acknowledgement Award, which is American Association of Community Colleges, a national organization, and she was awarded specifically for the hard work that she's done with our STEM scholars. But I think it's important to note that prior to even that work, Susan has always been a very supportive, caring, and engaging faculty member here at the college. And you're going to hear some more things today, and you have in the past about our STEM scholars, is that it is really positioning this college as a leader in STEM education. And the work that she has done has been remarkable. It's not just been in the classroom, it has been in recruiting, having relationships with every single student who's in that program, working with faculty, asking faculty to be mentors, doing supplemental programs, lunch and learns with the students every single week. And it is just amazing to see the work that has come out of the STEM Scholars Program that she's put together. She has been positioned as a leader in the other partners at the other schools that we're working with, and we are just so fortunate to have her here at the college. I remember when she first became a full-time faculty member, and we would sit in sessions together. And so it is such an honor to acknowledge her here at this board meeting and to recognize 2 years in a row that we've had faculty get awards at the national conference. So, Susan, there's a gift that is from the president, and there's another small gift here. I'm coming around another. It is. Do we do a photo? Yeah. Aw. I think Vanessa's going to direct us to another. Okay, do you want to group?
Yep, so all board members come up front.
Really?
I don't know what to do with all of it.
I didn't get an award. So all of them?
You want all of us?
All board members.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I thought we got an email that the pictures were gonna be next week, next month.
That's different.
That's more pictures.
You guys asked me to have a picture, like, right after.
wearing your yellow jacket.
I know, I really. I'll look good next to you.
Wash my hands.
Oh, see, I want to, yeah, my arms around people.
We'll get everybody in.
Yes. You guys all come forward a bit for me, please? Yes. That way everybody can squeeze in behind you. Good. Yeah, you're fine right there. Good. Yep. Could you come up just a little bit? Thank you. Small step that way. Yeah, perfect. Good, good. Yep. You're good right where you're at. No worries. Okay. Scoot in a little bit. Yeah, perfect. There we go. Great. Okay. Here we go. Look here. 3, 2, 1. Try it again. Here we go. This way. Yeah, right there. Yep, right there. Good. Perfect. Okay, and here we go. All right, 3, 2, 1. Pizza. You're good. All right, done. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Can I say just one thing? I want to thank Julie Kissel, and Michelle Mueller for making me feel welcome. I'm not the most graceful person in events like this, not very polished, and they really made me feel very comfortable and human and well loved. So I want to appreciate and acknowledge that. And then also Kim, like a supporter of this program in ways I can't even begin to thank. And Kim Jones has been helping me from the start, actually from the very start. This woman with the yeah. So here's why I think it's important I accepted the award. Oh.
No, it's okay.
No, talk to them.
It's okay. It's a camera. We can do the camera.
That's better. The camera's up there.
So I want to say that this is weird for me to and they're sitting in this room, and they're also not here. So I accept it for every single one of the faculty at Washtenaw, as well as our school, because we have a great school. We have even better students. And this first year just about killed me physically. And it sounds beautiful and wonderful, this whole program, but there's a lot to learn. And what I do best is working behind the scenes and making stuff run. And so we'll all keep working together to do this for our students. So thanks for letting me blab at you, and I'll go and do what I'm supposed to do. See you later.
Thank you. Up next is the Curriculum and Assessment Report. VP Hearns.
This is me again.
Yes.
All right, so I am going to introduce our chairs of our Curriculum and Assessment Committee, Sean Darren and Lisa Vesey. But before I do that, I would like to ask Joy Garrett to please stand. Yes. Yes, I'm asking Joy. So Lisa and Sean are going to talk a lot about the hard work that's taken place in the Curriculum and Assessment Committee, the work that faculty has done. But I think it's always important to acknowledge Joy Garrett. If you've ever seen her little small office on the second floor of SC, sometimes you'll walk by and you'll see like 5 people circled around her small desk working together on curriculum and assessment work. And so I want to say, and I know all the faculty will want to say, thank you to Joy. Thanks for all her tireless work. She has helped over 186 participants in workshops this past year get curriculum and assessment work done. She never tells faculty no. She meets them where they're at. She meets them in their labs and whatever faculty building they need to be met in. And so we would like to also say to her, thank you so very much for all your hard work. And so I'm going to turn it over to Sean and Lisa.
I want to echo your kind words for Joy. Joy is amazing. Yes. Without her, we would not be able to do the work that we do. So thanks from us as well. My name is Lisa Vesey. I'm chair of the Curriculum Committee. And before I share my report with you, I'd like to also acknowledge the previous chairs, Dave Wooten and Michelle Gary. Their tireless work the last few years really gave us a strong foundation upon which to build, and I want to publicly thank them for their hard work. What I'd like to share today is the work that the Curriculum and Assessment Committees have done with regard to program review and assessment courses that we've received, as well as course assessment reports, and also touch base on the work sessions that we've held. Programs, we've received over 10 new programs, 20 program changes, and we've received assessment plans and reports for 6 programs, which is up considerably from previous years. We expect a lot more to come in, as this is a year that faculty are submitting at least 1 course assessment report and 1 course review. That is due the end of August, so we should be receiving many, many over the summer. We have several sessions planned for that time frame. Courses received a total of 216, either new courses, course changes, inactivations, or assessment reports, so a lot of activity in that area as well. The work sessions, again, building on the work of David and Michelle, making sure that we get out and meet faculty and help them with what they need to get done. We have scheduled just from November through June, we have 3 sessions this summer that we've already scheduled. Those months, we've had over 161 participants and about 23 hours of work that we've met just in work sessions. There have been additional training sessions that Joy has run and additional assessment training sessions that Sean has run, but those are just a few that I wanted to share with you. Other accomplishments. Back in 2012, we started talking about officially documenting the credit and contact hour minimums for the different courses and course types that we have. That was back in 2012. I'm pleased to say that the determination has been set officially with the cooperation of the WCC EA as well as the department chairs. We've all worked together to make sure those minimums fit everyone's expectations. as well as the adoption of a program assessment cycle, which I swear we had on the books, but apparently we did not. So those are just a few of the highlights from the year. I'd like to now let my partner in crime, Sean, share information from the Assessment Academy, which he's very closely working with and a member of, and some of the highlights from the most recent HLC conference. Thank you.
So yeah, more work that we're doing. We're starting our 4th year on the Assessment Academy with HLC that meets our quality initiative through HLC and actually prepares us, what I think, for their visit that's upcoming next year. What spawned out of that project that Dave and Michelle started was our own internal WCC Assessment Academy, which can continue the work and our goals to get gen ed assessment worked on, course assessment, program assessment. It's going to, of course, change the culture here on campus. So that started over a year ago, and we've seen huge progress out of that and get the culture kind of changed around here a little bit, so everybody's used to, hearing that bad word that's known as assessment. Something that we should be, proud of, be able to learn something from, and be able to help our students move forward on. Along with that, attending the conference, which was roughly 3 weekends ago, that is actually a huge thing to actually be able to go to as a faculty member through WCC and see what other institutions are doing and learning from them, seeing their struggles, their strifes, and kind of getting to that partnership, working with them and trying to figure out some of our issues together to be able to move forward. So that's a nice piece. So we're constantly moving forward though with this because we have to. That's a piece of the deal. So I'm proud to be the assessment chair and work with Lisa and of course work with Joy and all the faculty members here to support them on their work to move forward. So
Thank you.
thank you. I don't know if there's any questions or anything.
Go
Yes.
ahead. Do you have what you need to do your work?
As far as
Time for yourself, equipment, support, clerical, whatever you need?
As far as the resources and everything, I think, we're utilizing everything the best we can, and I don't think we need anything more at this time, other than maybe, seeing, Lisa return back to the curriculum office with Joy and see the help over there. That's phenomenal to see that resource.
Nelson.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
That-
Yeah.
Good.
Making sure that office is well-staffed. They do so much work. It's unbelievable how much, funnels through. Everything that we do starts there. So making sure they have what they need.
And they have what they need? Okay. Good.
At this time, we're good.
Yeah, that office supports the faculty supports assessment and
very
curriculum, so
important
it's
for
nice to
next
have
year.
that
Yeah.
stair step, so,
Anything else?
Any questions? All right, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for all your work.
Thank you. Okay, up next, the Diversity and Inclusion Report, VP Hearns.
All right, it's me again. All right. So I'm just going to give a reminder in regards to our diversity and inclusion report as Dean Jennings prepares to come up to give his presentation. For the last 2 years, Dean Jennings has been with the college, and one of the things that we kind of use as a theme in regards to the work that he does is his actual job title, Access, Success, Equity, and Inclusion. So in the past, his report traditionally was just a diversity report. And so just a reminder, some of the things that you're going to see in his report today is we're going to be talking about the cohorts of students that we're looking at and disaggregating data and looking at that data as it relates to student success in general, as well as in specific populations of students. And actually also today you'll be seeing some information about how we're scaling programs across those cohorts. So you'll see the diversity part there, but you'll also see other things from a program standpoint and a general student success standpoint, which are all his charge in his job. All right, Dean Jennings?
Could you say his 4 titles again?
Okay, it's Access, Success, Equity, and Inclusion.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
We don't want to do that.
I'm being harassed by the deans back here. There's a acronym, SASSY.
We don't need
Sassy Dean. They say I'm the Sassy Dean. So, but I do want to thank the board for inviting me here tonight to talk about where we are in our diversity and inclusion efforts here at the college. I will start by saying that the work that's done out of my office is all shaped by WCC's policy around access, success, and equity here at WCC. And WCC promotes the awareness and appreciation of cultural differences and commonalities among students, our community, and staff groups, seeking to build community, unity, and learning. We also promote a climate of access, success, and equity for persons from different racial, ethnic, and cultural groups, age levels, religions, sexes, gender, identities, and expressions, sexual orientations, physical capacities, learning abilities, and income levels. WCC works to create and maintain a diverse teaching, learning, and work environment that can draw upon the full potential of all individuals in order to provide the very best educational opportunities for all the members in our community. And those pictures that accompany the policy represented some work that I have created with marketing about welcoming our students. We had posters in the bridge that separates the LA building from our Student Center building. So the first day of school, when students walked through, they could see themselves. We had veterans, we had our students with disabilities, we had our LGBTQ community, we had one that showed international students. So we had a very diverse group of photos that people could look at and say, this is WCC and we are welcoming. So now the fun part, talk about where we are this time in 2019. First thing I'll talk about is access. So, you know, that's a long title, but part of the job that I do is working to ensure that the policies and the things that are impacting students, that could impact students, that we're doing the best we can to make it an accessible place for our students. First thing we deal with is diversity, and I want to be clear that many times people think about diversity as being just racial or ethnic. We look at more than that. We're looking at a student's socioeconomic background. We're looking at if they're ready for college, different academic backgrounds that they may have, their gender. And I think for me the key is the intersectionality of those things. So being a male in nursing, or being a female in welding, or being a low-income student who shows up here trying to figure themselves out, what we can do to support those students and give them a sense of belonging here at WCC. And part of what we've done is our minority student outreach. As part of the work that I do, I go out and visit the schools and get a chance to see students that are going to show up here and help welcome them before they even know that they need us. A lot of students are looking to go to a four-year university, and I talk to them about, well, what about WCC? Because that's, you know, they sometimes forget that we exist for them. So I've been to Ypsi, Lincoln, Ann Arbor, Belleville. And Belleville, if you don't know, is a pretty large feeder school for us. Even though it's in Wayne County, it's closer to us than Wayne County Community College. And Arbor and Canton Prep, these are two charter schools, but they are doing very good work around being accessible for students, getting them into college. So one of the schools that I'm also working with. We've also presented at the WCC&U, the Ministerial Alliance, and recently, probably about 3 weeks ago, we hosted the National African American Parent Involvement Initiative here on campus. And Ypsi being our, a focus for me, but also for the institution, we were able to engage with the Ypsilanti community schools through their Summer Jazz Festival, and one of our former instructors,
Johnny Lawrence.
There it is, Johnny Lawrence, and his band was there. Got a chance to talk to him. He was not here when I started working, but got a chance to talk to him. And it was a really good opportunity to meet the community and talk to the community about what we have to offer, from preschool in some cases all the way through. We have different, whether it's non-credit or credit courses. And then we were at the back to school rally where we had the great opportunity to see hundreds and hundreds of students and talk about WCC, not just about the credit side of WCC, but what we can do in workforce, which is a good opportunity to engage. I think what I'm very proud of is that we were able to increase the number of scholarship applications from the two of the schools that we've really been working hard with. For Ypsi schools, we saw about 110% increase, and for Lincoln, about 40% increase in applications. That's a big deal because a few years ago, we had a hard time actually getting enough students to actually apply, and they were leaving scholarships on the table. So we were able to ensure that at least we had a bigger pool of candidates for our scholarships. So access, we really think about college readiness and the academic side of access. So I'm sharing this chart with you, which it talks about students being college ready. So college ready being college ready in reading, writing, and math. Those are our 3 developmental remedial courses that we offer. If we go from left to right, you'll see that 71% of the students who actually were college ready, so these are college ready students, earned 12 or more credits in the first semester here at WCC. And if we go all the way to the right, we'll see that only 19% of those students who were not college ready in at least one, or were college ready in one subject, earn no credit. So we have students who are college ready on one side, students who are not college ready on the other side. So part of the work that we've done over this year is talk about how we can get more students placed in the college level English, writing, or mathematics. Part of our metrics is to, again, decrease the numbers of students who are placed in developmental education, increase the proficiency for those students who actually go into developmental, making sure that they can get out and get into college-bearing courses. And finally, to increase the numbers of students who are actually taking the writing sample as another opportunity to be placed into college-level writing. Right now, we have multiple measures that we're using. AccuPlacer, it changed January. So we're using a different AccuPlacer called Next Generation. Students have always been able to provide us their SAT or ACT scores. We are using ALEX for probably the last 4 or 5 years as a math placement. And finally, I guess I should say finally, but part of the writing sample is that now all students are giving the opportunity as part of, at the end of the placement test, that they know they can go take a writing sample and can also be placed into writing that way. So I think it came up before for Board Member Hatcher to talk about that, and we're initiating that. What's new for fall? We're excited about VPI Hearns, faculty, the deans. We came together for probably 4 different sessions to talk about what's going on about using GPA, high school GPA, as a placement measure. Our math department has been using it for the last 2 years. A 3.0 GPA or higher in math courses will allow them to be placed in the college level algebra, I think it's algebra. And so, but this year we're looking to add 3.0 high school GPA will allow students to be placed into college level English, reading, and math. Students will be placed there, but they don't have to stay there. So if students do not feel that they are ready, students will always have the opportunity to go into a placement that makes sense for them. All right. Success. So here's our 2019, fall 2019 scholars. We had a reception for our Procaccini Presidents and Excellence students. This is a big group for us. This group represents students who are here on scholarship. They're full-time students. They're degree seeking. So when we think about our graduation rates, many of these students are in that cohort of students. So their success is part of our being able to get to 20 by 20. So with this group, we have spent some quality time trying to get them to utilize that scholarship for the entire time they're here. We were seeing students leaving after the first semester, leaving after the first year, not utilizing the scholarships that we have to the fullest ability. Our metrics for this group, our the fall 2017 cohort, we had 93% of those students return for the winter, so their next semester. We had 84% return for the following school year. That's important because usually we're seeing only about 58, 60% of our students returning for that second year, so much, much higher. And then the numbers of students who earned 24 or more credits in that first year, almost 80%, 79% of those students. Total cohort for that group was 81. So we're trying to get that to be higher every year. And then for our fall 2018 group, you'll see that the retention was 95%. So we've increased 2%. I think the one thing for me has been think a great way of looking at how we are marketing students going full-time is the number of credits that our cohort, our scholarship cohort is taking. They're now taking 6.17% more credits than they did the year before. So students are taking 13.41 credits in 2018. In fall 2017, they were taking 12.63. This is about momentum, about getting students to the finish line quicker. And as you can see from fall 16, we were 89% retention from fall to winter, and we're at 95% for 2018-19. Yes, sir.
What is the population in these cohorts?
This population is the Procaccini Presidential and Excellence
But
Scholarship
in
students.
numbers?
81. This is 81.
81 students.
81 students. Mhm.
And for the people that, the 7% that don't continue to the next term, do we have reasons why that is?
Sure, we do have students who decide they want to be here for a semester. They transfer to a 4-year. We have students who leave for multiple reasons, academic reasons, but it's such a small number of students. But it does mimic, in many ways, the bigger cohort of students that are trying to figure out what they want to do.
Well, the reason I ask is if they're transferring to another program, that's a success. And I don't want us to say that if you're at 7%.
True.
So
True.
I feel like community colleges sometimes get sandbagged on these metrics.
We do.
Because we're a step to something else.
Absolutely.
And when students successfully transition to something else quicker, then we get, we shouldn't think that we're not being successful.
No, and again, we're going to spend more time over the next year looking at how we can better help our students who are transferring to transfer with either MTA or something that would make sure that when they leave us, that they're ready to go to the 4-year and have everything they need to be successful there. So.
And then one other question. I know the foundation's grants for emergency needs that arise for students. I know it helps students throughout our campus population. Do you see that as having any impact here in the increasing percentages of retention, or does that occur with other groups of students more than it does?
Well,
I'm sure it does more with other students, but I'm just wondering if, as we see that program take hold, is it having an impact on these retention numbers?
I will say that there have been a few scholarship students who have used the emergency fund, whether it's for getting their car fixed or for utilities. So all students have access to that. So we're making sure the students know about those other resources. Because this, again, our scholarships are paying for tuition, books, fees, and other students may need other resources, and we do have those here at this college. So.
So what programs or activities from your cohort can be translated to the general population?
I'm glad you asked.
That's the next slide.
That's the next slide. I'm glad you asked. So part of what we've done with the scholarship group, we have a smaller group, the learning community. And with the learning community, we focused on common courses. That's been our approach for the last couple of years. So students were taking communication, English, and psychology as a cohort group. We have dedicated faculty, Bonnie Tews, Ann Garcia, Hava was not only our English instructor, but she kind of was a mentor for the students as well. And they had a dedicated advisor. So some of the things we've learned with working with our scholarship learning community, we have actually scaled that up. So for our STEM scholars, they have a dedicated advisor for our, and they have a coach now. We do have a STEM coach for that group. So we're doing Motivational Monday emails, so they learn about scholarship deadlines, because even though they have the funds from our scholarship, there's other scholarships that could be available. They learn about the emergency fund, so they get a Monday email. We do lunch and learns, and again, we scaled that. Our STEM scholars do lunch and learns now, so we've learned from this group how to get them together, because typically these students don't have academic issues. It's the other things that they get, how do I fit in, housing, insecurity. So we're able to figure out from that how we're able to help those students. So think the best thing is that fall to winter retention for the learning community was 100%. They came back for the next semester. And then fall to fall retention was about 3% higher than the regular scholarship group. So we do see this work as something that we're scaling. We're scaling big time for this. So did I answer your question? Okay. Yes.
And what's the population in this group?
That population is 10 of the 81 to 10. However, the scholarship students were always invited to the lunch and learn. So that was a bigger group. That could even flow 20, 30. But that group was a smaller group just because of the classes that they took. But we did learn quickly after the first year to involve the entire scholarship group in the lunch and learn. So they got to learn about time management, those kind of things. Our other group, as we look at success, is our Brother to Brother. It came out of an initiative to increase the number of African American males who are being retained and complete a degree here at WCC. We've increased this to look at minority males overall. So it's not just for African American males. It's open to all students, male, female, doesn't matter. And then what we've done is create what I believe is interventions that will help the students adjust to college and overcome potential barriers and challenges they may face. Here's a couple. We can't take all our students to these wonderful trips. So we took 4 of the officers last April to Atlanta for a conference. At the conference, our chapter received an award for hosting the large event here in October. And we believe, let me go to the metrics and I'll tell you what I believe are the keys to success. So the metrics are fall 17 to winter 18 retention. 70% of those students who were in Brother to Brother were retained versus 61% of those males of color who did not participate in our Brother to Brother program. Fall 17 to fall 18 retention, 62% versus 41%. And then finally, this number is concerning to me, but we're moving in the right direction. 31% of that group, 14 students out of 45, earned 24 credits or more. And then those students who were not part of the cohort, they only earned, 6 out of 45 earned 24 credits or more. So again, we're talking after being here 1 year, very small numbers of students earning 24 credits or more, which is an indicator of momentum pushing through completion. I believe the keys to success are we build relationships with the students. They know we do warm handoffs. So it's not just go see Bill Smith. Like, no, I'm going to walk you over there to see Bill Smith because I know who Bill Smith is and he's going to know, he or she, he, in this case, is going to know who you are. The faculty meetings. So these students are required by me to go visit their faculty the first week of school because they need to know who they are and we want the students to know who they are. We meet weekly. There's touch points like what's going on. Do you have an assessment? Let me look at your syllabus. So it's really getting into the weeds with them about intrusiveness. Again, we do motivational Monday emails. Those emails work. They actually read those emails from me because I ask questions about that. And I typically put things in there that they need to know, and they'll miss it if they didn't read it. And finally, the lunch and learns. And again, we've scaled these lunch and learns up. It costs us very little money to offer students pizza. Pizza's cheap, but they're able to get information about scholarships. They're able to get information about how to deal with stress. We've done one on mental fitness. Mental health is a challenge that we're facing. We want to maybe get in front of that and make it a place where they can feel comfortable and they can talk about it in a safe place. Now I'll talk about some data. So when we look at retention, and again, this group that we're going to look at are our full-time degree-seeking students, our part-time degree-seeking students, and then our new students overall, degree-seeking students. So the blue line represents our fall 2016 cohort, and the orange represents our fall 2017 cohort. As you can see, retention from 1 year to the next, we have a 6% higher retention for the next cohort. For our full-time students, for our part-time students, about 4%. And because part-time students make up a bulk of our students, the total degree-seeking students who are being retained from fall to fall is 58%. So again, we've seen a 3% increase in that. So we're focusing on that group. And again, at one point, we looked at just the full-time degree-seeking students, and now we're looking at all of our full-time degrees, all of our degree-seeking students. We're seeing that increase. The next slide is students who were here fall of the first year and came back winter of the second year. So these students were here for a 2-year period. You can see our full-time students, they're still hanging in there. Matter of fact, that number goes up because students come back. They figure out, oh, I need to finish, I need to complete. And we've been very intentional about our messaging to these students about you can finish. We've had funding available to students to come back to finish line. We have a finish line scholarship to help them come back to complete. So we're doing those things to ensure that they're being successful. And if you look at the last column on the right, you'll see 51% of those students came back for a year. So we're doing much better with retaining students. We don't want them to be here too long, but we want them to be successful while they're here. And now I want to talk about, what happens when the economy is so good, right? So when we think about, in fall 2016, it was kind of close, males and females coming back for the next winter. We actually they were equal numbers in fall of 2017 coming back for winter. But this last winter, winter 19, we've seen a significant decrease in the number of males who came back for winter. My office, along with some folks that work for me, made phone calls to students. We were sending emails out. Hey, we see that you didn't register. We got late start classes. And we found out for about 60% of those male students that they got gainful employment. They working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. And many times we shape our conversations around equity, around how can we get more women into the workplace. But in this case, we're talking about how can we get more men to look long-term that school can provide for them, not just a job, but a career. So our messaging to these men will be, it's great that you're working. How can WCC help you get to the next level in your career? So now we have, more 7.5-week courses. We have online courses. So we're able to meet the needs of these students who are working. And again, I do believe that our female students get it. You're seeing many of those students are coming back for the second semester. A lot of them are in short-term training programs and our certificate programs to get right out there in the workforce, but they're completing. So we're working with our male students to get them to do the same. And then when I talked earlier about the intersection between, race and gender, in this case, we want to talk about retention of students, females, by race. And as you can see, the blue line represents students female students who came back for winter of their first year. African-American females, lower than our Hispanic and white females. And then when you look at who comes back for fall of the next year, so 1 year out, African-American females are not doing as well. And now that we see the data, we have to do something with the data. So we'll be working the same things that we've done with our Males of Color initiative. We'll be doing some of those same things to help increase the numbers of African-American female students who are being returned. Yes, sir.
Why is fall 1 to winter 1 lower than fall 1 to fall 2?
Fall 1 to winter.
It just strikes me, because that's a year later. Is it because people?
Some of them stop out and come.
Yes.
You come back.
Yes, they come back. We call them. Because our goal is, and many of the students, and we found that many of the students are stopping out, and it's not academics. Their grades are great. They're not on academic probation. They don't owe college any money. It's just that life got in the way. And now we have a lot of options for students to figure out how they can manage life and still go to school. And for our male students, again, we're working with the African-American males a little more, and you can see that is, much better than our African-American females, but it's not where we want to be, all right? And what we've done over the year, we have scale required advising. 2 years ago, the only people that were required to get advising was a small group of students, the VIP students. And then last year, we scaled that up to all incoming students, of new students who are coming here. We've also targeted messaging to students about finish what you start. So this is our finish line. You got 52 credits. You need 4 classes to graduate. How can we get you back to finish? Also 15 to finish. We want students to take as many credits. We found that this message doesn't work for everyone, but it's working for certain populations. So our scholarship students are hearing this, saying this is a good opportunity for us to take more credits. And then we're also talking about, hey, you can also go 12, 12, and utilize spring and summer, taking 6 classes to still get that 30 credits over the first year. Online course success. So we looked at, our online courses typically have the success rate is a little lower than our on-ground courses. And then we have a success coach that started in January who's working with students who are only taking online courses. It's hundreds of students who are only taking online courses. They're working to coach them through getting through the online environment, which is many of our students think it's easier to do that, but we found that they need some coaching to get them through the hump, making sure that they are turning in their work, that they're actually even doing the discussion board. So again, it's a little different than being face-to-face. And finally, VPI Hearns has brought together faculty, the academic advisors and counselors, and the deans to talk about success on a larger level. And out of this came the 3.0 high school GPA with that. So we've been focusing on that over the last year. Equity. 10 years ago, we just said, give everybody a book and they'll be successful. Yeah, that's equality. We need to make sure we're giving students what they need individually. So when we think about equity, our lens has to be about providing individual support to help students reach and exceed their goals. Has to be what we do. And in that, we have to consider that those strategies can't just be one size fits all. So as you can see, we have different strategies around our students of color, around our scholarship students, around our STEM students. And finally, that we have to look not just at race, but look at race and gender and income, all those things helping to be a more holistic approach to how we support students, not just looking at diversity as this one thing that we do. So tonight, you heard Susan, she left us. She had class. She had class tonight, but I was going to talk about Susan. Susan has been our lead for our STEM Scholars Program. And essentially, we have 2 grants. Our LSAM grant that's for underrepresented students of color, and then our STEM grant, which is for primarily for our low-income students, regardless of color. In those 2 grants, Susan has led this initiative. And when we think about what she's done, so she's done summer intensive for students. So there was things that they did to help build a cohort. And I think for me, one of the biggest takeaways is what they did for the students as far as cohorting the students in classes, but having, let me see the red right there, the chemistry study block and the math study block. These are big deals because students are going right after class to talk about what they were supposed to had learned today. So helping students not go home not understanding, it's like go home, try to do your homework, but they had no clue of what they were supposed to learn. It's called supplementary instruction, different places, but we found that has been a key. Students talk about that a lot, and we're going to scale that for many of our other courses that are having, students who are having difficulty in some of those courses, especially math courses. Again, we scaled the lunch and learn, so all of the STEM scholars meet on Monday from 12 to 1:30, and again, it's open to everyone, but STEM scholars are told they have to be there. So when we talk about year 1 successes, we started out with 16 students for last year, and that was 11 males and 5 females, and when you look at that, the diversity is not there. The equity, we got 69% of the students were male, 31% female. But the racial diversity was great. 50% of those students were diverse. We actually have 3 students that graduated from our program. They'll be graduating in May. going off. They got accepted to like 3 different schools, each of them. We're trying to figure out, help them manage where they're going to go. Because again, we want to make sure students are not leaving us and going into debt at a 4-year university. So we're working with those students. But we're happy to know that in year 2, which starts in July, we have 35 students, 17 males, and we have 18 females. So it's about 50-50. So we were able to actually reach out and ensure that diversity there. And 46% of this cohort is ethnic and racial diverse. Right here. Oops, go back. Okay. So part of helping support equity, we started working with our males in nursing about 2 years ago. And the goal is to make sure that we're having more male students be part of the pool of candidates and hopefully helping them be part of the cohort of students for nursing. Well, I'm happy to present to you tonight that we're actually getting more students, male students into the nursing program. So in 2016-17, we had 21. Last year we had 23, or 17-18 we had 23, which was almost a 10% increase over the year before. But in 2018-19, we had 27 male students that got into the nursing program, which is a 17.4% increase over the year before. So again, the chapter is the chapter that they have helps talk about the first year students, get to hear from the second year students about what it takes. And one of the fun things for me was hearing them talk about, I know you don't want to talk about kids, but if you want to be part of the nursing, you got to figure out how you can be part of that space. Because they were like, the women are talking about their kids and they're talking about these shows and I don't want, and the second year students were like, yeah, but if you want to be part of that group, you got to figure out how you can be in that space. So it was really good to hear from the males how to make sure that they can be a part of that other cohort that happens in the hospitals. So it was really good to hear that. So we're excited about that. Inclusion, as I end, this is the last part of the presentation. When we think about inclusion, it is all the pieces together. All the things that we say that we care about diversity coming together. And for me, diversity recognizes the differences, but until we are able to talk about inclusion where we actually welcome diversity and we actually create an environment where people actually can thrive and succeed, we don't have diversity unless we have an inclusion. So part of the work that I do, I'm on the academic side of the house, is professional development for faculty and working with our faculty professional development to bring diversity workshops and seminars and different things to our faculty. For fall 2018, we had several workshops around diversity, around what we can do to help students, the 4 generations in the classroom. For our September faculty meeting, we had another one of our Taste of Diversity, which was really interesting because I used our faculty, our counselors, to talk about how we can work with our international students, how we can work with our first generation students, our LGBTQ students, and then how our language helps be inclusive, the language that we use in the classroom. In November, we've done workshops around safe zone training, supporting veterans in the classroom. And then in our winter 2019, our January in-service, we had Dr. Brian Dewsbury. He is a marine biologist who teaches at the University of Rhode Island, came and talked to faculty and our students about building a sense of community. And I'll talk a little bit more about him in a second. We also had Huda Essa. She's been here a few times. She does very good intercommunication, interpersonal, intercultural communication. And then our faculty professional development chair, Mary Mulholland, she did a workshop called Teaching While Diverse, which is very good, around how do you look at your classroom and look back at what you're teaching to ensure that we're, reaching all the students in the classroom, which is not always an easy thing, but being reflective on that. And finally, we did our winter TLCs around, words and language again, but ensuring that faculty know about accessibility and accommodations that are available to our students from the people who actually provide that service. So Deb Guerrero from Learning Support Services came and gave that presentation. I can't do all this work alone, so I do a lot of collaborations. So do a lot of work with our international students because we have a very large population of international students. If you haven't came to the International Student Thanksgiving, you should come. We have a great time. You're mixing turkey and gravy with hummus. So it's a wonderful thing. So it's like, I don't like turkey, but I like hummus, so I had a good time there. But the students get a chance to experience what it is to be American, our American values around Thanksgiving, and we get a chance to be a part of their culture as well. Also, we had the opportunity to bring Holocaust survivor Irene Butler to campus, and students were given the books for free. We actually gave books out to the students who came, first 75 students who came. For MLK Day 2019, it was held on a Thursday that happened to be Division Day. VPI Hearns and the deans all decided that it was a good opportunity to allow faculty the opportunity to come and be a part of this. We had record numbers. We had faculty, a standing room only for this event. Pastor Waddles from Second Baptist, he also was a 2018 recipient of the WCC honorary degree, was our speaker. Gail Martin, she's one of our faculty members here. She sung some very wonderful songs to get the program started. And we had students, faculty, and staff were able to sign a banner. And if you were here during January and February, you got a chance to see it hung up in the student center. They were able to talk about what they dream about, what they see, they hope for the future. It was a really, really good opportunity for students to share. And Dr. Brian Dewsbury, I want to mention him again. He was here for our full faculty meeting that morning of in-service, did a breakout session for our group. The bottom group represents a breakout session where, have you heard of the privilege walk? He calls it walking in someone else's shoes. And it was an opportunity for people to see privilege in a different light, and how some things that we take for granted is really privilege, and look at it from a perspective of if you're a student, what does that look like in a classroom, and making the classroom a place where privilege is not something that we, it levels the playing field. We're not looking at privilege. Everyone's the same. We want everyone to feel like they can learn. And I will say this, I had a lot of comments from faculty around him being there, because he's an African-American PhD holder who's a marine biologist. And when you're talking about diversity, it's like, well, he's a marine biologist. He stayed with us and had lunch with our STEM scholars and talked about the difficulty sometimes of being the only minority in group in fields that don't typically look like, or you don't find someone who looks like you, and how to find agency in that, how to find grit through that, making it through that. So it was really good. He stayed pretty much all day, so I'm grateful that he came. We also collaborated with the Perkins programs and our grant around CTE month. So if you were here in the month of February, we had CTE month all over, and it was really about ensuring that students know the opportunities that are available to them in CTE. So we were everywhere. Heritage Street, we went over to Skills USA that was held here on campus. And the bottom picture on the right-hand side is April Schiffler and Anthony Webster, and they are our CTE folks, and they represent, completion and retention of CTE students. So they work a lot with our students, our CTE, our occupational students, to get them through. So we're seeing very good progress in that group as well. For Black History Month, everybody should have got your lunch magazine in the mail. Did everybody get that?
Yes.
Well, this young lady that was on the front is Aisha Bowe. We brought her here to be a part of Black History Month, but also part of our STEM Scholars Week. And she spoke to our students about how she went from WCC to the University of Michigan, graduated with a degree in aeronautical engineering, went away and went on to NASA, left NASA, founded her own company, who now provides contract services to NASA. So she was able to talk about it. But one key takeaway, she did a PowerPoint, and I took a screenshot of it. Second bullet, she says community colleges offer significant lower tuition, smaller classes, and I think the biggest part for us, strong student support. I think she talked more about what we do here at WCC. She's going to be on Billboard. She is what WCC is, because she told us that she didn't know what she wanted to be. Her counselor told her she should be a cosmetologist. So she went. Her counselor, high school counselor, told her she should be a cosmetologist. She should do hair. But instead of doing hair, she's doing space. So it's a good opportunity for students to, if they don't know what they want to do, come to WCC and we can help them figure it out. Well, we also went to the Charles H. Wright Museum, so it's always a wonderful opportunity to go and see the exhibits there as well. For Women's History Month, I'm from the Flint area, and I was happy to be able to get Dr. Mona to come and talk to us. Trustee Milliken was there. Matter of fact, I think she received one of your awards from.
Yes.
So it was a great conversation. Everyone in attendance received a free book. She stayed and signed books for folks. And it was a really good kickoff to Women's History Month. So I was excited to bring her here. She came for free.
And she was such an extemporaneous speaker. She didn't speak from
Absolutely.
prepared notes. It was all from the heart.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mentioned she came for free because what she wanted for us is to make sure that students had the opportunity to read about the book. So we gave books out instead. So my connection to Flint kind of helped out there too, so it works out. And finally, we collaborated with the Bailey Library with our human library. If you didn't have a chance to come over, we're asking you to come over next year. It's a wonderful thing. So the human library, if you don't know, is an opportunity for you to actually to check out a real person, a book, a human book. And what people were willing to share as a book was just overwhelming. So we had students that talked about what it took for them to leave a country that's in war, come to the USA. An honor student who was like, hey, I've been diagnosed with ADHD since I was 12, but I'm an honor student and you can do that too. We also had someone who was a commissioned officer who said, I was taking remedial courses, but now look at where I'm at. And finally, for an LGBTQ student who did this particular one, it was like, open the closet door. How did I come out as gay? And it was just a story that you had to be there to hear. So next year, if you get a chance, the books change. And if you want to be a book, I know the library will definitely look to engage everyone. But it was a very, very good opportunity to hear from our students, from our staff. Some of our staff did this as well about something they wanted to share. So that is the last. Sorry. This is the last one. This is the last one. So the last collaboration is with the music department. So on Monday the 29th, which is next Monday, we'll be having a jazz concert, jazz Afro-Cuban jazz concert here in Towsley at 7 p.m. Alberto Nassif will be here along with musicians from the Ann Arbor community, along with our students. He will be giving a master class for our music students. So this is an opportunity for them to actually get in front of someone, our students to get in front of someone who actually does this for a living, so they can see you can translate being a musician to actually being paid to do it. So it's a good thing. So this is the last slide, I promise. Yeah. So any questions that you have?
Go ahead.
So how do we get, I'm trying to think of the students you've affected, divided into the number of students we have. So we need about 50 of you?
No, we don't.
Is that what I'm thinking?
No, we don't. No, we don't. We are scaling. So again, some of the things that we've done is the required advising was only for maybe a few hundred students, right? Now it's for thousands, 13, 14, 1,500 students now. So we're looking to scale that again for fall to ensuring that all of our students, first time coming in, that they get advising about the classes they need to take, the programs that they're in. We're spending a lot of time with our deans around how do we get students through our programs quicker. Our sterile processing program, we have a new cohort that's going to go through. It used to be a 30-week, 2-semester. Now it's going to be condensed to 20 weeks. So again, trying to help students get through quicker because they've told us that we want to take classes in 7.5 weeks or 10 weeks. And we're trying to do more of that to be accommodating for those students. But again, Some of our courses just can't do that. They're going to be 15 weeks. I will say that the work that we're doing about retention and completion, helping students understand why. And again, I think to your point, Trustee DeVarty, students come here for different reasons. They come here to get a couple classes for more skills, but the majority of our students tell us they want to come here to get a degree. And we want to make sure that they get that degree or certificate. So all the things that we're trying to do is helping them understand, you told us you want to get a degree from WCC, and we want to support that. So with all the coaches, we've hired, 12 coaches, maybe 10 coaches, 8 put 9, because I got one for STEM, so we got 9. And that's been helpful because they're able to get in the weeds with students and contact them and go to their classes and say, hey, you haven't done A, B, and C. So we're very intrusive in the lives of students. So we're hoping that that work is going to pay off within the next year, because it's our 2017 cohort will be our 2020 graduates, and we're moving closer to the number. We want 20% of them. We're hoping that we get more than 20% of that cohort to graduate, because hopefully what we've done with that cohort and scaling it to the bigger cohort of students, we should see success overall.
And we'll see later in the meeting, our focus on completion is paying off.
Sure. Oh,
In terms of
great,
graduates.
great. Any
All
other
right,
questions?
thank you. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions or comments? All right.
Thank you.
I guess one question. When we're looking at diversity over the whole student body, do we look at familial status? Like single parent, somebody who's here who's a single parent, somebody who's here who's a married parent, like their co-parents, or somebody just here as a
We do.
younger student?
But students have that self-identity.
As
We
a retired-
don't typically ask that information. But in our barrier sheet, we do ask about if they need transportation, if they need childcare. So we kind of get that information from other sources, but it's not a question that we ask individually for each student.
The reason I asked, I know the Fair Housing Center has cases that they go after, civil cases where housing providers might discriminate based on familial status.
Okay.
Like if you've got kids, for example.
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, moving on to monthly reports, tab B, personnel recommendations. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the personnel recommendations as listed. Do I hear a motion for tab B?
So moved.
Second? Support. Thank you. Any discussion on the personnel recommendations?
I mean, I just noticing everybody's leaving is there's no, very few new hires except for a secretary in nursing, and I still object to wondering why the secretary's under instruction, but never mind. And I'd like to acknowledge Kim Tom's 31 years of service. As a colleague and a friend, she did a great job for the community college. And I'd like the board to acknowledge that and thank her.
Thank you. We also have on the list Michael Lee, 35 years of service in the Computer Commons. Quite a bit there. All right, any other questions or discussion? All right, all in favor of accepting the personnel recommendations, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Moving on to tab C, the financial report. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees receive the financial reports for March 2019 as follows. Do I hear a motion to accept the financial report?
Move acceptance.
Support. Any discussion on the financial report? Would you like to add anything, VP Johnson?
I think that the trends for the month continue to support the forecast that we had shared with the board, that our revenue is pacing slightly better than planned. Tuition is about right on plan. Spring, summer continues to track, as well as did winter. Property taxes are doing a little better than planned. Our investment income is as well, and state appropriations for the one-time payments that we've received. And on the expenditure side, that we're pacing about right on budget. So we had forecasted about 1.4 million of surplus for the year, and I think we're on track to hit that forecast the year.
Go ahead.
Will the 459,000 for ORS come out of that surplus? Or
We've already booked that number.
Okay.
So that's already booked in personnel.
okay.
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay. Do we have to do, no, this is accolade, okay. All in favor of accepting the financial report, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, moving on to the facilities report, tab D. Is there anything you'd like to add, VP Allen?
Sure. We're right on the cusp of having an exciting summer construction season going forward, and a lot of work has been done with procurement, setting that up for us. Of note, this last month, we're getting the initial work started on the new handicap ramp for the Great Lakes building, which is settled over a number of years. And we're finally told that the Washtenaw County Road Commission is ready to put our non-motorized pathway on the street for bids in May. So that's been delayed since January due to some internal staffing issues that they've been dealing with.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for VP Allen? None? Okay. Thank you. All right, moving on to the remarks of the Board of Trustees. Would anybody like to make comments? Go ahead, Ruth.
As I noticed in especially this month's report from personnel, we've had a lot of departures, especially in administration, and perhaps the timing might make it appropriate for a title and salary survey of administration. That kind of thing happens in bargaining units whenever they come up, in terms of what the levels are, what the pay rates are, and all that, and it gets hashed out in bargaining. But I'm not sure that we've done that for administration for a very long time. I think we have 17 vice presidents. We have 4 associate vice presidents. We have a lot of directors and managers, and they're all in there together, and maybe we should look at sorting them out somehow, have a college-wide look at that, because it hasn't happened, I don't think, in a very long time.
Do we know the last time it happened, where there was a title survey or something, or?
Compensation survey?
Yeah, whatever.
Is that what it's called?
It's been some time, and I will say thank you, Trustee Hatcher, that we are actually, your timing is perfect, because we are taking the opportunity, not only operationally to look at these positions, but we are doing an analysis of the responsibilities, the scope of those jobs, making sure that, in terms of the compensation piece, that it's consistent with the market. So that's ongoing as we speak.
Good, and will we get a report of that, or, no, I don't know, do we ever see that, or?
Don't know.
Do we care? I don't know, I'd like to, I'm always interested in seeing it.
I care about high-level things like salary equity between, people. Are people making within a certain amount, the same amount for the same job? That kind of thing. But I don't know how much detail we need about getting into the weeds of salaries and titles and all that.
And the other thing I wanted to mention was, in terms of the I can't say the acronym, Access, Success, Equity, and Inclusion.
Sassy.
That's sassy, yeah. I mean, I was just reminded when I saw the wide variety of students we have here and what we see on TV all the time, especially on Easter and the churches and synagogues and so forth, that just to remind ourselves that one of the values of higher education, let me put it this way. Someone would ask me, and I've told this many times before, what is it you teach at Washtenaw? What do you teach? And I would always say, I teach students how to learn, and I teach students how to disagree with each other without killing each other. And it seems to me that those two things are getting to be more and more important, especially in your role with all these different people for respect and tolerance and education. And I'd just like to thank you for the efforts you do with that. That's all.
Any other comments from the board? Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to thank everybody for their expressions of condolence and gifts that were provided to my family following my mom's death. They were very much appreciated, and I thank everybody for your thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
Okay. Your virtual rose today?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead.
And I have comments to say. Thank you, Warren. We had another very successful spring free college day on April 6th. We had more than 500 community members that were in attendance, and almost all the classes were booked to capacity before the day started. There was something for everyone in the schedule. We had classes such as Understanding Audio Technology, Starting a Small Business, and the History of Modern Dance. Free College Day was initially created to show adults in our community what's happening in our classrooms and labs across the campus, but it has evolved to become a family-friendly event with the addition of classes of interest for children. On behalf of President Blanca, I'd like to thank Victoria Bennett, Brendan Prebo, and his team, as well as all the other faculty and staff who worked diligently to make this event a success. Our next Free College Day is scheduled for Sunday, September 29th, and that will be part of the larger annual fall campus-wide celebration that we have that includes cars and bikes on campus, party in the park, and program open houses and the campus tours. We also had this month Professionals in the Classroom. Our Professionals in the Classroom event is another event that continues to grow each year. We had 38 professionals from a wide array of job sectors that came to campus to speak with our students. A few of these professions were international terrorist analyst, a forensic nurse, an ethical hacker, and a small business owner. The program offers our faculty the opportunity to have a professional who holds a job relevant to their course come and speak to their class. In total, 492 students were reached, and according to the event coordinator, who is Leslie Neal, feedback from our faculty was overwhelmingly positive. Our faculty members said this program is an example of how WCC sets itself apart from other colleges by giving our students an opportunity to augment what they learn in the classroom with real-world experience. Not only were the faculty and students giving the program kudos, but many of the professionals enjoyed the day and agreed to come back for the next year. Why WCC is social media campaign? As you know, April is celebrating nationally as Community College Month. To commemorate the celebration, we embarked on a social media campaign called Why WCC. We posed this question to a cross-section of people, community leaders, faculty, staff, and students. You can see some responses here. We wanted to know how they felt about the college and the role it plays in their lives and in our community. We got a tremendous response, and we're honored to receive so many positive comments. Some samples: criminal justice student Ebony Mabin, WCC will allow me to make a difference in my community. Shelley Strickland from the Ann Arbor Community Foundation, WCC educates local employers, provides amazing continuing education, and makes the dreams of its students become real. In honor of Community College Month, our alumni Madison Nix, the winner of our 2016 talent show, posted again a Facebook message she originally sent in 2016. Thank you, Washtenaw Community College, for all you did for me It is because of the talent show and the relationships I made at WCC, my company, Neverland Entertainment, is successful. Never underestimate a community college. We also had the Bravo Awards this month. The president hosted the annual Bravo Awards ceremony. There were 182 unique nominations. Some faculty and staff were nominated several times. The event is driven by our students who nominate faculty and staff members who have made an impact on their lives, either personally or academically. Everyone nominated received an award and a special WCC umbrella, the same that you have on the table tonight, that was given to all of our trustees. As President Blanca often says, we are in the business of changing lives, and the Bravo Awards demonstrate that reality. Congratulations to all those who were nominated, but we'd like to give a special congratulations to Mohammed Abella, Nooni Anderson, Marvin Balut, Susan Dental, Khalid Mansour, Bill Reichert, and Tracy Schwab, for those that were all nominated every year for the past 5 years. So kudos to them. Last week, we had the Carnival Extravaganza. The President's Office hosted the annual Staff Appreciation Event. This year's theme was a Carnival Extravaganza. The event provided an opportunity for our faculty and staff to relax, enjoy each other's company, and have some fun. There were approximately 130 people in attendance. It also provided a chance to celebrate Community College Month and recognize the hard work and dedication of everyone who works at the college. I'd like to thank Vanessa and her team for putting together such a very memorable event. There's a very informative Washtenaw Economic Club luncheon that is scheduled for May 9th, just in a couple weeks. Craig D'Agostini, who is Vice President for External Affairs at the Comcast organization, will be here to discuss how internet access is crucial to driving a strong and effective workforce. He will outline the current disparities among people who have internet access and those who don't, an issue that's often referenced as the digital divide. I hope that you are all able to attend. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to old business, tab E. Okay, the recommendation is that the Board of Trustees award the honorary associate degree to Dr. Carl Covert for his extraordinary support of Washtenaw Community College and its students for leading a life of service that has benefited our entire community. Do I hear a motion to support the honorary degree?
So moved. Support.
Support? Thank you.
Support.
Any discussion on the honorary degree? Okay. All in favor of approving the honorary degree, say aye.
Aye.
Any all opposed? Thank you. Okay, moving on to tab F. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees recommends that the college, when developing its FY 2020 budget, utilize the maximum allowable 2018-19 ad valorem rate for operations, which at its current rate of 3.3978 mils will generate approximately $56,732,741. Do I hear a motion to support the ad valorem tax rate?
Support.
Support?
Or
Second.
I move that we use the maximum allowable 2018 to 19 ad valorem tax rate.
Support.
Support. All right, thank you. Any discussions on this? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Does this
Aye.
does this need a roll call?
I think it probably.
Does it need a roll call?
Money,
Money.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not on my notes, but do we need to roll call this?
We should have a roll call.
Okay, Vanessa, please call the roll.
Chair Conley,
Yes.
Vice Chair Milliken,
Yes.
Secretary Grady,
Yes.
Trustee Hatcher,
Yes.
Trustee Whitman.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to tab G. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve a contract with Newman Smith Architects of Southfield, Michigan, as the design firm for the new Advanced Transportation Center project, in the amount not to exceed $460,000, contingent upon the college administration obtaining a satisfactory contract with the firm. Do I hear a motion to support the design contract?
So moved.
Support?
Support.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on the design contract?
I sat in on the presentation that they did, as well as the one that we had last month at the board meeting, and I was very impressed with the quality of the thinking that they brought forward, and I think it'll be fun to have them have a crack at this.
Any other comments?
So the glass house we saw
Yeah.
was not for sure, it was a suggestion?
It was a concept.
Concept,
Yeah.
okay, good.
Yeah.
Conceptual.
Conceptual. It was pretty, wasn't it?
I've got a question, Bill.
Okay.
If you were in the presentation, one of the categories that we rate on is prior experience with WCC. Do you remember what their prior experience was?
I don't.
I mean, that's here with some of the others as well.
VP Allen,
Just curious
do you
about that.
remember?
Yeah, they worked on that new renovation type stuff in the occupational educational building, and they also designed this room.
This room here?
Yes.
Okay.
They've also had some examples at some other institutions
Right.
that during their demonstration or
Yes,
presentation
I
they
saw
showed. Other colleges in Michigan.
We saw more slides.
Thank you.
Any other questions about the design contract? This is also a roll call. Okay, Vanessa, please.
It was moved.
Yeah, we did the motion.
We
Yeah,
moved it
so now do
already.
the roll. Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to tab H. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve a contract with Barunzi Contracting LLC of Brighton, Michigan as the contractor for the Health and Fitness Center Women's Hot Tub Replacement Project in the amount of $146,500, contingent upon the college administration obtaining a satisfactory contract with the firm. Do I hear a motion to support the contract?
I support the contract.
Okay, moved and supported. Okay, any discussion on this?
Are these the same people that put in the first one?
No.
Oh, good.
That was a long time ago. Do you have a question? Comment?
I was going to ask if Ruth could be the person that tests it after it's installed.
First one.
Yes. Okay, any other questions on this? Let's see, this is a roll, too. Vanessa, please call the roll. Yes.
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 Okay, thank you. Moving on to new business, tab I. The application for liquor licenses for the iron workers. We do this every year. VP Mueller, do you have anything? Mueller, do you have anything to add?
But we never get any of the liquor.
No, we don't. We have to attend to get it.
Okay.
Do we need a motion and a? do
It's
we
a
need to approve
discussion.
that?
Discussion.
This is a new business and it's discussion. Now, I know, like, we have bumped it up in previous years so that they could get it going, but does anybody care? We can do it.
But I need to sign it as
Yeah.
soon as possible, I think, as the secretary.
Yes.
And I would move that we make application to the LCC for a liquor license as enumerated in this proposal.
So move it up for approval.
I guess
For
I have to
action.
make a motion.
Yeah.
I'd move that we change the agenda so we could vote on this tonight.
Support?
Sure.
Support? Okay. So we are moving the application for liquor license up to an action item. And let's see, this isn't a roll, is it? No. Okay, any other questions or discussion? Okay. All in favor?
First, we have to vote.
First we have to approve the amended agenda. Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda? Or
So moved.
approve the
I just moved that.
Okay, you just moved that and you're supporting
Amending the agenda.
amending the agenda.
Correct.
Okay. So we have all in favor of amending the agenda? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. So now it's on the agenda, so now we can approve.
I move that we vote to approve making application to the Liquor Control Commission for a special license as enumerated in this proposal.
Okay. A second?
Support.
Support? Okay. All in favor of approving the
Should we
liquor
do
license?
a roll call?
No.
Larry?
No, this
Money.
isn't a roll call. There's no money.
No.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Still under new business,
We'll see
moving
what
on
you
to
do.
tab
Thank
J, the Clasby fume hood replacement. VP Allen, do you want to add anything?
Yes, this
here?
is a contract for discussion. This project replaces the outdated chemical hoods in the liberal arts building under deferred maintenance. The 28 hoods we have now are unreliable and frequently need intervention by my staff to keep them going. So this project modernizes equipment programming and operational sequencing for the hoods. So we've got bids in earlier this month. Quality Air Services of Brighton gave us a bid for $746,505. Yes,
Are those 28 hoods all the same date to manufacture? or-
yes, they're all original.
And they're all spent?
Some are spent and some are trying to be spent.
Thank you.
Don't tell the faculty in the LA building. Never mind.
This is,
Scary.
they have been asking for this project for a long time.
I think I've seen this on our deferred list for a while. Okay. Any other questions to VP Allen on this? Okay. Moving on to tab K, the firing range cleaning contract. VP Allen, would you like to add anything to this?
Yes, this is a contract for discussion and possible action. As you know, the college is executing a contract to replace the air handling unit for the firing range. During testing, we discovered that the range should be deep cleaned to make sure we've got all the surfaces in a best possible condition before we start adding new equipment to the range. So this received bids from Next Gen Services out of Ypsilanti for $189,850, plus some additional quote for $9,300. So the recommendation is to approve a restoration contract with them not to exceed $200,000.
Okay, go ahead.
This is on the agenda for possible action? Is there some timing consideration
Yes,
that would, maybe we should pass it tonight if we can?
that'd be very good.
Go ahead, Ruth.
Is this about lead?
Lead is one of the contaminants that can be in there. Combustion byproducts.
I move that we accelerate this to the agenda to have action tonight.
Second?
And I'll move to amend the agenda in order to accommodate this tonight.
Okay.
Well,
I thought that's what he said, but okay.
I just essentially did that,
Oh,
so that's okay.
I'll
Okay, so
withdraw
we
my-
have a motion to.
But Bill can have the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion to amend the agenda. Do I have a second? Ruth is seconding. Okay, so
Second, both of them.
any discussion on amending the agenda? We know why we're doing that? Okay. All in favor of amending the agenda, say aye.
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 Thank you. Okay, so now we have moved up the firing range cleaning contract to an action item. And this is a roll call. So I need a motion to approve the cleaning service contract. Anybody? First, I need a motion.
I'll move that we approve the recommendation that for a restoration contract for Next Gen Services for an amount not to exceed $200,000.
Support?
Okay, excellent. Any further discussion on this? Okay, hearing none, go ahead and call the roll.
Chair Fleming?
Yes.
Vice Chair Milliken?
Yes.
Secretary DeWarden?
Yes.
Trustee Hatcher?
Yes?
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to tab L.
That's the good news.
Oh, boy, the graduates. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the candidates for graduation as submitted. Do I hear a motion for the graduates?
So moved.
Second? Anybody want to approve the graduates?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion on the graduates? Would you like to add anything, VP Blakey?
Yes, with our focus on completion, I'm pleased to say, so in your packet, so these are all the people that have applied for graduation to date, but we have certificates, 963 certificates that are being awarded, 1,356 associate degrees. That is an increase of 16%, 182 increase of associate degrees, which is 16%. And if I look at the unique number of graduates, last year it was 1,591. This year was 1843, so additional 252 people getting awards over last year, again, a 16% increase.
Bravo.
This is fantastic news.
It
And
is.
our efforts are paying off.
Awesome.
Sorry. Got
That is good.
It is wonderful.
Any questions or comments for VP Blakey? Okay, now, this is, are we doing anything with this?
Yeah, action.
Okay, so this is, okay. All in favor of approving the graduates, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, thank you.
And there'll probably be more, right?
Oh, yes,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is just at this
Yeah.
point, yep.
Okay, all right, so that's through new business. At this time, we're going to adjourn the regular monthly meeting in order to go into the public hearing. So at this time, I'd like to call for a motion to adjourn the monthly meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on adjourning our meeting? Hearing none. All in favor to adjourn, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. All right, the regular monthly meeting is adjourned. The public hearing is now open. The board, wait, I have to now open the next meeting, never mind. We are now opening the next meeting. Let's see, first we need to do public comments. The public hearing is now open. The board will now hear comments for the 2019-2020 budget as posted. If anyone here is here to speak from the public, please come to the podium. Would you like to add anything about the budget? Any other comments or questions?
I do have a presentation that I would
Okay,
like to
go ahead.
to go through.
Hearing no public comments.
Good evening.
Howdy.
Greetings. So the board has, we have two items, really, the budget and then the actual motion for the property tax as a draft tonight. Regarding the budget, the board has in their packets three documents and that are there for your reference. One is a draft motion of the proposed budget for next year showing the revenue and expenditures. The second is a narrative walk which walks the board from the current year budget to next year's budget by each of those line item captions. And then the third item in your packages is a detailed walk of every department on campus, the current year budget, proposed next year's budget, broken out by personnel and non-personnel expense so that you can see the variances. So those are there for your review, consideration, questions. What I'd like to do tonight is to go through with the board a presentation that captures the essence of the budget and the good work that the college has done for the year. So I'll go through a presentation that's up on the slides for you. Just to remind the board that our budget process, although it is but once a year that we come before the board, as a college, our budget process is an ever ongoing thing at the college. Through our quarterly meetings that we do with the board, each and every quarter we review kind of current status of the current year, and then we look at that relative to budget, and it helps to inform us, frankly, about the next year's budget. And so that process certainly has gone on for this year. And that led up to then each of the departments have to have their budgets done by the end of January. The vice presidents for those divisions then go through those budgets in detail. They make revisions as they see fit as a team. And then we bring to the president's office a proposed budget for her review, which we completed towards the end of February. And then we get input from the president. There's another round of discussion that goes on, and then we make further tweaks to it. And then at our third quarter budget meetings, which are in March, we then review kind of the current state of the draft budgets at the departmental level during those third quarter meetings. And we get further feedback from those. We go through another round of tweaks. And while this is all going on, that's on the expenditure side. we are going through a very detailed assessment of all the revenue items within the budget as well. And so we finally reconcile all those and propose a balanced budget. We then go through one last check, which is then with that, what we think is a final version of our budget for next year. We then send out to all the departments one last look at their operating budget for the upcoming year and ask for their sign-off on it. So that's the process. It's about 4 months in the making, which brings us to today. So what does the budget look like? We really stop and we say, you know, how do we go about it? It's really informed by the priorities of the college. When we're going through all those tweaks, when we're going through all those reconciliations, it's always aligned towards the strategic priorities of the college. And this has been an amazing tool for the college in its budgeting process to have that rudder, if you will, to help steer our thought process. So on slide 5 in your presentation, what I offer is fiscal 18 actuals, so really 3 reference points. Fiscal year 18 actuals, the forecast for the current year, which we had presented to the board at the February retreat, and then the proposed budget. And what you'll note, that revenue is going up about $2.6 million. So at a very high level, revenue is going up about $2.6 million, with property tax revenue being the significant portion of that, which I'll go into all this in more detail in a minute. Expenditures, our operating expenditures go up about $3.1 million, and that's in large part due to compensation and benefit increases, and also in investments in technology. And then, as we'll get into a bit in a minute, we're also proposing some increases to the transfers, kind of the capital side of the budget, both for deferred maintenance and really the creation for the first time of a classroom renovation fund that we're proposing. So let's look at the revenue in a little bit more detail. So on slide 6, you see each of the pieces of it, from tuition all the way down through miscellaneous revenue. And what you'll note, a few highlights here, is that tuition staying essentially flat for 3 years in a row. We did have a big increase in our line 2, our technology enrollment fee, because the board had approved an increase to that technology fee last year meaning the year that we're in now. And then you'll also note that our property tax revenue has gone up significantly. It's gone up about $4 million over a 3-year period. So on slide 7, some of the key revenue assumptions that drive those numbers. The enrollment credit hours we're forecasting a decline, a very modest decline, about 1%. That's both in the enrollment head count as well in credit hours. On the credit hours side, as we have gone through with the board in the past, there has been an ongoing decline in the average credit hours, in large part because more and more of our students are fully employed. So it's just becoming more difficult for them to carry that same load. But we are forecasting a modest decline. It's about 2,000 credit hours down year over year is what we're forecasting. Tuition rates, the board had approved our tuition rates. So once again, just to affirm, this budget assumes that our in-district rates hold level and that our out-district, out-state, and our international rates go up between 2% and 4%. Property taxes, last Wednesday we got the final assessed values certified by the county. They went up about 6%. That compares to last year, they went up about 5%. And before we all jump up and down about that tremendous increase, we have this wonderful mechanism called the Headley adjustment, which, depending upon on which side of the fence you're on, that's either a really good thing, or it's something that you realize that there's some long-term future benefits for us, but not yet today. And so we do have a nice increase year over year. But because of the Headley adjustment, it's not as strong as it just the pure 6%. State appropriations. In terms of complexity on the revenue side of our budget, this is probably the most complex line item. If I can refer you back to the prior slide 6, and you look at line 7, you'll actually note that we're forecasting a decline in state aid of about $400,000. So there really are 3 pieces to state aid. There is the general appropriations, which we're forecasting about a 1% increase. The governor had recommended a 3% increase just today. The Senate has put out their version, which is about a 1.5% increase. We haven't seen the House side of that. So our budget assumed a 1% increase for that element. There's 2 other pieces. There is the flow-through money for the make-whole lost personal property tax, which is actually on a sunsetting mechanism, which means that over a period of years, this make-whole amount will decline. So we are forecasting a decline again next year to the tune of about 100,000 decline. And then the third piece is one-time money that the college received this year to help fund us and all plan participants in MEPSRs for the rising cost of the MEPSRs plan as a result of plan changes. So that's about $300,000 to $400,000 of reduction that the state said, you know what, we're willing to do that for the first year, but after the first year, you're on your own. Now, there is talk in Lansing as of today of potentially making that whole again for another year. However, there's always a but, and the but is they're also saying that we might give you another year of that increased MEPSRS cost. However, we're going to lower the amount we're going to contribute for the mandated funding. The state now kicks in about $4 to $5 million a year on our behalf for the difference between what we fund into MEPSRs and what the mandatory amount is. So they're saying we are going to reduce the amount that we are going to provide towards closing the gap between the statutory amount and the mandatory amount. But we'll give you some more money back in this other bucket for structural plan changes. So moral of the story is there's a lot of months of negotiations that are going to ensue. We've put together a budget that says net, that our state aid's going to go down. That may not be true, but that certainly is the basis that we have prepared this budget. Investment income is going up yet again. We just get better and better at working the models of leaving no idle cash uninvested. So $1.1 million in investment income for next year, which helps to support the college in its everyday operations. And last but not least, our trade partner revenue is going up. So in addition to UA and ironworkers, we also have the sprinkler fitters, which are part of UA, but kind of a separate contract that we have. This year we have the masons. Next year we're going to have the roofers association. And in the sprinkler fitters, they had approached us about enhancing their training opportunities. So we just negotiated a contract with the sprinkler fitters for additional training for next year, and we just signed a contract with the Roofers Association. So that's tremendous opportunity for the college and tremendous opportunity for our greater community. So we have reflected that within our budget on the revenue side.
Just curious, with these new contracts, do you have a sense how many people we'll see on our campus when those contracts are happening? The roofers and the sprinklers?
There's approximately 100 to 125, somewhere in there.
That's
I believe, Marilyn, correct? And then the sprinkler fitters, that's an online program that's offered throughout the country. So it's
So
probably...
people won't come here.
Marilyn, what do you think about, yeah, they won't come here, but 800 online.
And then the masons, who we have this year, was about the same size as the roofers in that same range.
And what are the timing on those?
June.
And because they're a smaller group, it doesn't take over the campus like the iron workers and, the UA, so.
Now, with regard to MIPSers, we've allied with some of the other community colleges in our approach to Lansing. Has that been effective, and will it be effective as we go forward?
Certainly, as the issue had risen around the treatment of part-time students, we really formed a good coalition with the sister community colleges, and were able to come out with a reasonable, successful outcome on that. I think going forward, we've kind of found strength with that same group. And as we address the state aid formulas, the community colleges have been a strong, unified voice on finding unreasonable outcomes. So for instance, there's a recommendation by the governor's office to shift the funding source for community college revenue from the school aid fund to the general fund. And so I imagine that community colleges as a group will have a voice that says that we believe the school aid funding is the proper place and source for that funding.
Thank you.
So then we move on to the expenditure side on slide 8. Personnel, of course, is the largest share of our budget. It's about 76% of our budget. And I'll get into more of the details, but you can see that there has been a steady increase from this year to next year, about 2.6 million of proposed increase in personnel. Non-personnel is going up a bit next year, but not near as much as it had in prior years. And then, as I had mentioned, we are going to be making a recommendation to the board for both deferred maintenance and the classroom renovation fund. So what are some of those key assumptions? Compensation in total is going up about 2.9 per million. Really three pieces of that. Compensation, 1.5% increase, plus faculty step increases that are per contract. We're forecasting yet again for this coming year about a 4% increase in health benefit costs. That's what it was for this year. That's our forecast again for next year. And then on top of that, as I had mentioned, about a 5% increase in MEPSR's costs because of the structural plan changes for the most part. 13.5 million of our $112 million budget, about 13.5 million, or about 12%, is in retirement costs alone. So it's a pretty big percentage of our operating budget. Like the last few years, we budget at the departmental level, assuming that every position is filled the whole year long. We know that not to be true. We averaged this year, we're at about 20 to 25 positions. We have assumed that same pace for next year again. So about 20 to 25 positions of vacancy savings. Along with that, we have seen a trend on our part-time administrative, not faculty, but on the part-time administrative side, that there have been some budgeted savings, budget to actual savings. So in total, it's about 2 million worth of what I call vacancy savings that we hold at the college level. We don't push that down to any department because the presumption is that every department's resources are there to be fully utilized. But I wanted the board to know that we have made that assumption. If we didn't make that assumption, we wouldn't have a balanced budget. We would be in a deficit by about $2 million. But as we've seen in the past, that's a pretty safe assumption given just the normal churn of vacancies and refill rates. Question on that?
Way back on the gray pages,
On the gray page.
the expenditure analysis.
Trustee Hatchie, are you in the narrative?
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
I'm seeing that we're going to have now another dean for math and science and for arts and science. Is that true?
Yes.
So we're budgeting for a second dean there. And the vice president of strategic enrollment,
Yes.
who's that?
That is a brand-new position that has been put in the budget, and I believe that President Blanca had included that in her memo to the
She
board.
mentioned the memo. I wonder if that was it.
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
Okey dokey.
I didn't
So
do
that'll
that.
make 18 vice presidents? That'll be
Seven? Maybe seven.
17 vice presidents? This is a full vice president, not an associate.
Correct. It is a full vice president.
You don't have 18.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Did you have a
just want-
question, Dave?
Yeah, I just want to suggest that, and I'll talk to the president about this, but is that a or I'd like to propose the possibility that that's not at the VP level, but that we look closely at it as maybe a senior position potentially under Linda Blakey, who's the VP already that deals with those sorts of issues. So that might be, but I know there are salary considerations at the very least, so, but I'll talk to the president.
Okay, very good. And I do have a slide that goes into more detail around those very issues so that you can see the full breadth of those changes. It's just a couple more back for us here. The other thing that we've assumed on the non-personnel side, so in addition to inflationary increases in contracts that are mandated by the contract. So for instance, some of our technology software license contracts have mandated rate increases. So in addition to that, we're pleased to say that we have added $250,000 more in student scholarship money this year. That's about a 25% increase over the current year level. As a result of the board retreat, we had identified and helped to inform the board about a number of areas within the technology arena that needed to be addressed. So we've added additional resources for things like our banner upgrade, establishment of a PMO office, including the business analyst, to improve the network infrastructure, security enhancements. We've also added in this budget on the non-personnel side monies to bring our public safety radio system up to the standard that is required for us to be able to communicate effectively not only from within, but with all the rest of the agencies that may be on campus, and also ongoing improvements to enhance our camera system as well, which we've been doing on a regular basis. This is just doing more of it because we still have a lot of old, dated, and antiquated camera equipment on campus. As I mentioned, last year the board had approved for fiscal 19 the establishment of a furniture renovation fund of $200,000. After a lot of work with VP Hearns, the deans, and faculty, it was clear that we need to get after a long-term plan to renovate our classrooms, both the physical environment and the technology environment. And so this budget says we need to put $400,000 a year in addition to the $200,000, so $600,000 in total. That isn't intended to be a one-time event, but to be now part of our budget so that we can plan effectively each and every year to improve our classrooms. And then last but not least, we are also proposing to increase the deferred maintenance budget by $500,000 from the current year level. So that's at a category of expenditures look. The next slide, slide 10, offers the board a different view of expenditures, which is by more of the functional areas. So for instance, instructional support is going to increase, as it's being proposed in this budget, by about $1 million. With $800,000 in the personnel side. Both instructional support staff in a number of areas, along with the addition, as was mentioned, of an additional academic dean for the arts and sciences area is part of that equation. We also had to add more money for just part-time faculty as well, and overload. So we needed to add money in a number of areas there. And then on the non-personnel side for instruction, it largely was just to meet the needs of rising material costs in a number of our programs. Student services, you'll note we have about a $700,000 increase. $300,000 is on the personnel side. As mentioned, that also includes the establishment of a brand-new position, the Vice President for Strategic Enrollment. But in addition to that, it's to more fully build out the career coach function, which we've had at a more modest level in the current year, supported by even some grant funding, and we really want to build this out. We've seen a lot of strong success with these resources, and the team at large believes that this would be a great use of resources to continue to support our students with that. On the non-labor side within student services, the largest pieces of that are one, student scholarships, $250,000 increase, or about 25%, and then also, as I mentioned, the public safety radio. Administrative support, we're actually showing a decline, but you'll note in personnel side, a decline of about $400,000. $300,000 of that is an ongoing effort/challenge to the foundation to continue to grow the scholarship money that's needed for our students, but also to be able to support some of the staff that are directly dedicated towards foundation activities, which are now being paid by the college. So the foundation has taken that challenge on. In this current year, it's about $450,000 in total staffing costs that are directly supporting the foundation. And so the foundation has agreed to treat the challenge of a 3-year phase-in of offsetting those costs. So in this fiscal 20 budget, it's $300,000 of the $450,000, which is tremendous for that. And then physical plant operations, it's a reduction of about $300,000. There were 2 management positions that have been vacant for a little while. Both Mark and I have looked hard at that and believe that we can adequately support the teams with a lower management structure than what has historically been there. And then on the non-labor side, the physical plant operations has traditionally always underspent their budget. So what the $200,000 reflects is in alignment to actual levels. So it's a budget reduction in name, but not in substance for that. And then the last two lines, of course, we have spoken of the comp and the vacancy assumptions there. Last but not least, I want to point out the IT area, $600,000. So as I mentioned, we are going to establish what's recommended here, that we establish a project management office, which really is going to provide significant strength to the college around bridging the gap between the development of technology and the user's needs. And it's been a gap that's been with us for a long time. And we need to really close that gap. And it includes not only the project management team itself, but what's called business analysts, to be able to sit down with the user and say, what do you need? How do you do your business? What are the technologies that are using today? How do we try to better understand either to revise your processes and/or use the technology that we have today? And so building out that office will be really important for that. It also really helps with governance, which is a crucial point that you heard at the board retreat. And governance, among other things, is really about the way that you help to identify priorities and then implement the actions towards those priorities. And your project management office is a strong piece of a governance structure for that. Other areas within IT that we're looking to add resources for is for our network, our security, and banner upgrades, and those are all really, really important for us. So that's the revenues, the expenses. So this next slide, slide 11, is a view of the financial strength of the college. So this is the balance sheet, our assets and our liabilities. And what I offer for the board is a forecast of where I think we'll come out for the current year and also for next year, assuming that the board were to approve this budget. Kind of the key takeaways from this. The current assets of the college, which include both cash and cash equivalents, along with the short-term piece of our long-term investments. And as the board knows, we've been weighting more and more of our investments to short-term because, one, we like the liquidity. Two, it doesn't cost us anything because the Treasury yield curves have been inverted for a little while now. And so there's no good financial reason for us to go long. So we hold at $34 million. The point of that is that we are not forecasting that to execute on all the capital projects that are in this plan for next year, which do not include the renovation of SC, the renovation of ML, none of those, that we don't believe that we'll need to use any of our current assets to be able to fund that they're self-funded through our operating budgets and through the deferred maintenance funds that the board has already established. If you look at the liability side under other, that really is our long-term debt, and that continues to be paid off each and every year. We had a big drop-off going from 16 to 17. That's when one of our debt issues was paid off, and now we just have the debt that remains on the fitness center, which runs out through 2027. But if you go up one line from there, pension and other post-employment benefits, the OPEB. So we closed out last year with $167 million worth of liabilities. It's the college's share of the state pension plan and other post-employment plans. And we forecast that to continue to go up for one main reason, and that as a college, our share of the pie is allocated based upon the payroll, right, versus everybody else. And while we've maintained level employment here, many employers that are participants in the state plan have not. They've had declining. So just by sheer math, we get a bigger slice of the pie, and we get a bigger slice of that liability. That's the reason why I'm forecasting it to increase. But the bottom line, punchline for this is that the college remains strong. That $173 million that I'm forecasting for pension and OPEB is a book entry. It's not a cash entry. It has no impact on cash for us. So the college remains strong, and credit rating agencies have not negatively affected our rating as a result of that liability being on our books. So in summary, the budget that we're proposing for the college next year is about a 3.7% increase. About 2.8 of that 3.7% is just our operating budget, and the other roughly 1% is the increase in both the deferred maintenance and the classroom renovation fund for that. So how have we been able to achieve that, really? I mean, the enrollment efforts that are done across this college, frankly, are second to none. The fact that we've been able to, in essence, maintain level enrollments is rather impressive as a college. Not that we rest on our laurels, but we're thankful for the efforts and the fruits that's borne for us. Secondly, the support we get from the community is just tremendous. And once again, we're forecasting good increases in property tax revenue, which under the board's direction has given us the confidence to not increase tuition rates for our in-district students, and we're thankful for that. Thirdly, through that strategic prioritization, we're able, and making recommendations to put resources in areas that are directly aligned with the priorities of the college. And those areas are in scholarships, student success, enrollment initiatives, the technology initiatives, and the deferred maintenance needs of the college. It's been a great process. The college was strongly engaged in the process. I'd like to personally thank Barb Fillinger, my Director of Budgeting. She was tremendous in working with everybody. And we're really glad to present this budget to the board.
Go ahead.
I just want to compliment the staff on delivering a budget proposal with no tuition fee increases, and at the same time to offer an increased commitment to scholarship aid to people with the greatest financial need. And I think that is really important for us at this point in time, serving the constituency that our community college serves. I do have a couple questions. The capital assets, is that the physical plant?
It is the physical plant.
And then other, what's other?
The other is the long-term investments. So it's the long-term portion of our long-term investments.
Okay, and then current assets are cash and liquid
Cash,
short-term.
accounts receivable, so student receipts, receivables, and the short-term portion of our long-term investments.
And what would be considered our reserve? I like to look at a reserve that is at least 20% of our annual budget, and I'm looking at something here. If I look at the current assets of $34,000, that's essentially 30% of our proposed budget, which I think is really healthy.
So we maintain about 3 months operating reserve. So what is that? That's about 25%, right? So about 25% operating reserve.
And I want to compliment you on that as well. I think that gives me a lot of confidence in the financial position that we're in.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Bill? All right. So tab N then is a preview of the resolution for next month. You want us to pass this?
Do you want me to cover this?
Yeah, do you want to talk about this at
Absolutely.
all?
So what you have here, so you had just approved the assumption that we were to use when presenting the budget, which was the maximum rate, whatever that rate was. So thank you for that. So this is the actual rate. This is fresh off the press, certified by the county, of a rate of 3.3763. It'll provide gross tax revenue of the 58 million as referenced here. And so we would ask the board to consider a motion at our next meeting for the approval of this rate.
Does that have the Headley in it?
It does. It has already been adjusted by Headley.
So that is a number we can rely on then?
It is. Although they changed the number twice in 24 hours, so it's possible they could find a little tweak to it between now and when I come back next time.
Okay. Any questions on this resolution? Well, it'll come to us next month again. Okay. All right, if that's everything, we can adjourn the public hearing. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support? All right.
I've got one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Would it be possible that for our next meeting where we'll actually have the budget on the agenda to vote, that we could have a continuation of the public hearing just in case somebody from the public would like to, now that the budget is out here publicly, to speak to it?
Does that?
I'm not anticipating that there would be a great number of people, but I think it would be a courtesy to the community.
Well, they could speak at the normal public time for that meeting.
Public hearing?
Yeah. I mean,
Or the public?
time.
Okay.
And then also just to make sure that folks know that by law, we've had to have a notice in the local papers, which we've done.
Before this meeting?
Yes,
Yep.
three different times. So the public has provided ample notice. So.
Okay.
I'm comfortable with that.
Okay, thank you. So do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Support?
Support.
All in favor of adjourning? Say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.